Hi, I'm Doug, and these are Wycliffe's words. Like many people our age, Sally and I have helped raise a pair of grandchildren in our later years. It was for the most part a delight. Of course, it also had its challenges, like fitting my late middle-aged rear end into the tiny chairs at kindergarten orientation. And then there was my grandson's love of Scooby-Doo. I always rolled my eyes at the climax when the villain snarled, "I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for these meddlesome kids." I always chuckled and said, "You been Scooby-Dooed." I liked that phrase so much that I created a corollary. When the loathsome murderer is brought down by a sweet little old lady, I think, "You been Miss Marpled." Believe it or not, that's the first thing that popped into my mind when I read Wycliffe's translation of John 16:32. Jesus was preparing his disciples for his impending death, and he used a word that sounded just like Miss Marpled. He said that the time had come when his followers would all be disparpled. Now, though Miss Marple and disparple sound exactly alike, their meanings are opposite. When a crook is mismarpled, he's been identified, captured, and pinned down by the authorities. When the members of a cabal have been disparpled, they've fled, they've dispersed, they've scattered to avoid the authorities. Picture the disciples running from the soldiers and priests and disappearing into the night after their master had been seized. One was so desperate that when grabbed by a soldier, he slipped out of his cloak and fled naked. And Jesus warned them that this would happen, but they refused to believe him. They swore allegiance. When Jesus had turned his steps toward Jerusalem, Thomas said that they should go with him and die with him. On that very night, Peter vowed he would lay down his life for Jesus. They claimed to be lions, and yet they turned out to be butterflies. You see, disparple comes from the Latin word for butterfly. The disciples, we flit, we flee, we fly. The big question is, how would we react in their place? Would we do any better than they? Church history is full of examples of religious persecution, from the earliest first-century records through last night's news. And history shows that people respond in all manner of ways. Some stand strong, facing the direst threats with courage and poise. Some flutter away wherever the breeze may blow. We'd like to believe that we would be lions. But do we really think that we're better than the great apostles, all of whom fled? Before you answer that, consider one important fact. Yes, they all ran away. Once. Then Christ arose, and that changed everything. Now they knew his message was true. Now they knew he was the very Son of God. Now they had the power of the indwelling Holy Spirit. Now they could, and they did, stand firm to the end, even in the face of persecution and death. And we have what they acquired, sure knowledge and spiritual power. We can share in their later victory and not their early defeat. We shall not be disparpled. And those are Wycliffe's words. See you again next week.